Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's look at the new concept today. The new concept is about the essential elements of a valid contract. Now, what are the essential elements of a valid contract? We know that there are certain essential elements, so let's understand them. Offer and acceptance, intention to create legal relationship, lawful consideration, capacity of parties, that you can also call that as competency of parties, free and genuine consent, lawful object, agreement not declared void, certainty and possibility of performance, and legal formalities. What is that first essential element? Is it is offer and acceptance. Offer is when somebody proposes to another party, because we have said there should be two or more parties to an agreement. So one of the parties who's making the offer, if, he has to make a proposal here, and then the other must accept. So how should we the offer should be definite. The offer must be such that the terms of the offer must be definite, and the acceptance of the offer must be absolute and unconditional. There should not be any condition when acceptance is given. So the acceptance must be according to the mode which is prescribed. That where you said give your acceptance by phone, give your acceptance by message, give your acceptance by email. Whatever is the mode which is prescribed, you have to give your acceptance likewise, and then it must be communicated to offerer. You should not keep it with you. You cannot say yeah, it is a yes, and then I have not told it to the offerer. No, it should be communicated to the offerer. It is a must. That is the first essential element of a valid contract. The second essential element of a valid contract is intention to create a legal relationship. Now, when two or more parties enter into an agreement, their intention should be, they must be creating a legal relationship between them. Now, if there is no such intention, what intention we are talking about is to create a legal relationship on the part of the parties, then there is no contract between them. It is clear. There should be an intention to create a legal relationship. Now, agreements which are of social or domestic nature, they do not contemplate legal relationship here, and that's the reason you cannot consider them as contracts. Now, in case of Balfour versus Balfour, that is Mr. Balfour versus Mrs. Balfour, this case is between a husband promised to pay his wife a household allowance of $30 for every month. Later, the parties separated and the husband failed to pay the amount. Now, when was this agreement or when was this promise which was made by the husband? It was when they were living together, when they were husband and wife. Now, later these parties separated. Later there was a divorce. They have separated. They're not staying with each other. Now, husband failed to pay the amount. Now, wife sued for the allowance in court. So what was held in the case, held in the court when he was sued. Now, it was held that the agreement, such as like this, what we have seen, when they were husband and wife, the agreement was made, right? And there was no intention to create a legal relationship here, such as they were outside the realm of the contract altogether. That's the reason. Under this particular essential element, that is, there was no intention to create a legal relationship, it was not considered as a contract. Now, the third essential element is lawful consideration. Now, what does consideration mean? Consideration means something in return. Consideration means a benefit which is moving from one party to another. Now, that is the essence of a bargain when we are looking at. Now, when we say benefit moving, benefit you can say, advantage you can say, right? That is what is consideration. Now, what is lawful consideration? Now, promise. Now, here a promise which is made is to do something, or you are abstaining from doing something. Now, if you are not getting anything in return, then it cannot be enforceable by law. That is the reason there should be something in return. Now, consideration, how should it be? In the form of cash or in the form of kind? It can be in the form of cash or kind. Need not necessarily be in cash. Now, it may be an act which we are accepting to do, or it can be an act which you are abstaining from doing something, right? Both are considered as consideration. That even if you're saying that I will not be doing this thing, can also be considered as consideration. Now, consideration can be past, consideration can be present, consideration can be future. Consideration, whenever you're doing it, should be a real consideration. You cannot give some fake consideration here, and it should be lawful. You cannot say I'll give you arms, I'll give you ammunition in or I'll give you something which is prohibited by law. No, it should be lawful. The next essential element of a valid contract is capacity of parties. Now there should be competency of party. Now who is competent is what we will learn to enter into a contract fulfilling this essential element. The parties to the agreement must be capable of entering into a valid contract. Now every person is competent. You can call him as competent if he is the age of majority. That means he is a major, he is of sound mind, and then he is not disqualified by law. Then you can say that he is competent to enter into a contract. The next essential element is free and genuine consent. The consent, when it is given, that means when you are giving your assent, when you are giving your acceptance, when you are giving your consent, it should be free and it should be genuine. Nobody should be forcing you to give your consent. So that's why it is essential to creation of every contract that there should be free and genuine consent of the parties to agreement. Now the consent of the parties is said to be free when they are of the same mind and on all the material terms of the contract. Now if there is absence of the free consent only, we can say this is not free consent when they are induced by coercion. Coercion is you are threatening the person to accept, or you are making an undue influence on him because of the relationship which exists between you and the other party, right? And then you have done fraud. Fraud is when you are deliberately trying to harm the other party, then there is fraud which is involved. Now misrepresentation is with unintentional, it is you did not want to harm the other party. Now fraud is you are intentionally, you would want to harm the other party, that's why you have done that, misrepresented something. Like misrepresentation of age is also wrong. Okay, then if it is backed by all this, that is if your consent is backed by coercion, undue influence, fraud and misrepresentation, then it is not free consent and genuine consent. Then the object for which you are entering into a contract must be lawful. The law object, there should be an object first. First point is there should be an object. There should be a subject matter for which you are entering into a contract. And this object must be legal. It should not be illegal. If you are saying the object of the contract is arms and ammunition again, you are saying for 100 guns, 100 10 guns is what you are entering into contract, then what is the object? 10 guns, which is wrong, right? So AK-47, no, that cannot be the object which is legal. So it should not be illegal, it should not be immoral, it should not have been opposed by public policy. That is what it means. So an agreement, if an agreement suffers from any of the legal flaws, then it will not be enforceable by law. That is what is important to understand. Then agreement not declared void. Whatever agreement you are entering into, you should see to it that it is it has not been expressly declared void by law in force in the country. Okay. And certainty and possibility of performance is another essential element of a valid contract. Now, what is certainty of performance? Now you are very certain that you will be performing that particular thing what you have promised, you have agreed. So the agreement must be certain, it should not be vague. It should, if it cannot be enforced, now if it is vague, then it cannot be enforced by law. Now see, in this case, A agrees to sell to B 100 tons of oil. Now we said oil, he said oil, A agrees to sell to B oil. Now which oil? Did he say castor oil? Did he say groundnut oil? Did he say coconut oil? Did he say olive oil? No, the name of the oil is not mentioned. So there is nothing whatsoever which shows the kind of oil which was intended to be. So that's the reason the agreement is void for the want of uncertainty. Then in Scammell versus Austin case, the O agreed to purchase a motor van from S on hire purchase terms. Now the hire purchase is that you will pay an installment over a period of 2 years. You said you will be paying that total amount. No. Now what was mentioned here is the amount how it will be paid over a period of 2 years, but it is not mentioned that how much interest will be charged. So what was held in this case is there was no contract as the terms were not certain about the rate of interest here and the mode of payment. You will be paying by cash, you will be paying by check, you will be paying by Bank deductions, EMI deduction from bank, nothing is mentioned. So not was not precise. That's why there is no certainty and possibility of performance. On those grounds, it was not considered. So not considered as a contract, that is essential elements is not being fulfilled here. The next is legal formalities. Now any contract can be by words which are spoken or by a written contract, but it should be very you should be very careful when you're entering into a contract. Whatever words you speak, sometimes they can be misinterpreted, they can be they can be forgotten, right? So it should always be written. Now as regards the legal effects, when you're talking about, there is no difference between a contract of writing or a contract of word of mouth, but always you should be looking into it, that it should be in writing, right? Because you have evidence, and this document should be stamped. The document should be signed by people who are witnessing this agreement. Now this is about what we were talking about, essential elements of a valid contract. With this is where we end with this topic. I hope you have understood the essential elements of a valid contract, and you will be able to do your conceptual concepts very well when it comes to these essential elements. Thank you and bye for today.